Hello, alongside Ryan Sir, I'm Don Helbig, and welcome to the Pick Six, the podcast by the Attractions Group, where we bring you the latest top stories from the attractions and amusement industry.
Yeah, before we get started, let me remind you that you can find us on all your favorite podcast apps, Apple, Google, Spotify, and so on. We also do a video version of the podcast on YouTube. Just search for the Attractions Group Podcast. Also, follow us on X, formerly Twitter, at attractions_GRP. Don, take us away.
I like turtles.
Zoo Atlanta urgently seeks $500,000 to secure a new 5-year lease for its beloved giant pandas, Lun Lun and Yang Yang. Having captivated visitors for a decade, the panda's current 10-year agreement with China concludes this year. The zoo has initiated an online fundraising campaign aiming to cover the lease fees, with significant progress already made by dedicated supporters. Since their arrival in 1999, Lun Lun and Yang Yang have been a highlight, welcoming 2 adorable cubs in the last 3 years, a rare feat among U.S. zoos. Atlanta stands among the select 4 U.S. zoos privileged to showcase these endangered creatures.
I like that we live in a day and age where you can lease a panda. That's
Yeah, I
my
mean
that's
they're
my takeaway from that article. But yeah, hopefully
yeah, adorable animals.
yeah, adorable animals that are they're surprisingly vicious. Their adorableness to vicious ratio is way off. But yeah, I saw some pandas. I think I was in the second grade. They were temporarily at the Cincinnati Zoo, but I do remember seeing them. But yeah, they've been at the Atlanta Zoo for quite a while. In fact, I mean, I even knew that locally the closest place to see pandas is the Atlanta Zoo. So hopefully they can raise that. I mean, $500,000 for a nonprofit is a ton of money, but it's a worthy cause because I'm someone that subscribes to the whole idea where I understand the whole thing about why people are against zoos, but the positive side is it does spark a lot of passion for animals, and that in the end, um, kind of attracts people into careers that may help conserve them. Cool. All right, let's move on to number 2. During the peak Food and Wine Festival and just before spring break, Disneyland will temporarily close attractions like Radiator Springs, Incredicoaster, Redwood Creek Challenge Trail, and the sailing ship Columbia for routine refurbishment. This aligns with the ongoing closures of Astro Orbiter, Grizzlies River Run, Haunted Mansion, Splash Mountain, and Fantasmic. Um, So, Radiator Springs Racers in Cars Land is going to be closed until March 1st for a brief refurbishment. That is a lot of rides to have under rehab at one time. It feels obviously, with Disney, they're year round, and they have to be very calculated about this stuff. But wow, that's a lot of stuff, especially during a very busy season.
Yeah, but they're temporary closures. A lot of times they don't last that long, and it is just before the spring break rush. So, there's never a good time, but this might be the right time.
Yeah, there's never a great time. You're absolutely right about that. What's next, Don?
Just over a week ago, Kings Island installed the first piece of track for its newest family coaster, Snoopy's Soapbox Racers. This week in Mason, Ohio, the amusement park reported that the final piece of track was installed on Monday just after 1 p.m. The new coaster will race forward and backward at speeds up to 36 miles per hour over 1,400 feet of track. Kings Island says construction it's going well and remains on schedule. The park opens for the season April 20th. The new Camp Snoopy area, including the coaster, expected to open late spring.
Yeah, we can't emphasize enough that they're saying late spring. So although I can't really call it a circuit, but yeah, each piece of track is installed. That's just the beginning. That's 50% of the project. The wiring, the trains, the testing. Um, I actually haven't really seen photos, so I don't even know how the station's coming along. But it's still a ways to go before it opens. So I would anticipate sometime in May. Would be a guess. They haven't released a date yet, and they probably will when it's time. All right. Wisconsin Dells, known as the water park capital, pioneered indoor water parks in the 1990s. Now the area boasts numerous indoor and outdoor water parks. Mount Olympus, positioned prominently, features both indoor and outdoor water parks along with theme parks. This season, their new attraction, The Rise of Icarus, claims the country's tallest water slide at 145 feet. The tower has 5 body slides, eliminating the need for tube hauling. 4 slides are at the 60-foot level, including 3 enclosed, winding slides, and one straight drop speed slide. That's difficult to say. Straight drop speed slide. I can't even do it on the second try. All right. The top
Their words, not
yeah, that
ours.
is not my alliteration. The top slide is the record breaking one, enclosed one winding around the tower. So it's going to be the top slide is winding around the tower. It's not straight down. That's kind of cool because you would think that a record breaking slide they try to go for the straight down look, but it's kind of interesting that they're doing that. But I haven't made it out to the Mount Olympus area. Have you?
No, and when you think about water parks, Wisconsin is typically not the state you would think about water parks. I mean, how cold it is there through late spring and how it gets cold, late September and that. So you don't really think about that as a water park mecca, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that about a lot of different parks. I mean, some of them make sense. You got Disney in Southern California and Florida where it's always warm, but you also have Cedar Point that's in Sandusky. So the roller coaster capital of the world's in a part of the country that's known for being cold half the year. I always thought that was kind of ironic. Cool. All right. So I think you've got the next one.
Yes, and an exciting update for the 2024 season. Worlds of Fun in Kansas City has unveiled significant changes to its popular events. Notably, Halloween Haunt will now be seamlessly integrated into the park experience, eliminating the need for a separate ticket. Park goers can revel in the spooky festivities without the hassle of having to leave the park and re-enter. Adding to the thrill, Worlds of Fun is going to introduce Tricks and Treats, a new event scheduled to kick off on Saturday, September 14th. This not-so-scary edition promises spectacular shows, delectable seasonal treats, and a lineup of ghoulish activities for guests to immerse themselves in. And as the summer approaches, the amusement park is set to launch a fresh and immersive event called KC Summer Nights. With a unique Kansas City twist, this summer festival promises a season of unforgettable experiences and entertainment. Now, Ryan, I really love what they're doing with this KC Summer Nights.
Yeah, I've seen several summer night celebrations at several of the Cedar Fair parks, and it's always really fun. I feel like there's nothing, because people are like, it's the most wonderful time of the year at Christmas. But, in a second place finish, it's the evening after a hot day, the sun goes down, it gets cool, it gets comfortable, and everyone's energized and stuff. I mean, that's why like the beach is my favorite part of Cedar Point because that's kind of what it reflects for me. So if they have those kind of celebrations in Kansas City, I think they're in for a really good event.
Oh, absolutely. What's next?
Awesome. So next up, Intimidator at Carowinds has been rethemed. Rev up your engines and get ready to race into an exciting new chapter for one of Carowinds' iconic attractions. Introducing Thunder Striker, the Carolina's fastest, meanest hot rod. According to Carowinds' website, Thunder Striker was built in the back of Earl's garage on Thunder Road. Master mechanics stripped down the old jalopy and scrounged up parts to create a souped up engine that's optimized for pure speed. Now now Thunder Striker is the champion of the dirt road. The fastest, meanest hot rod in 2 states. The name change was necessary because the contract granting Parks naming rights for the coaster is set to expire or was expiring at the end of December. So we kind of saw this coming, didn't we?
We did, and it was it's tough when you do those deals, those licensing deals, and that you're always having to renegotiate those, and so yeah, I mean it's understandable why they needed to make this change.
Yeah, it's some of this stuff is kind of like it's got to be baked into the plan where we'll do this deal for a set amount of time and then we'll worry about it down the road. But for marketing purposes, it probably worked rather well. They also,
Yeah, it did when it first opened. I thought, when they did it, I thought, if they get 5 or 6 years out of this name, that's great, and then you're going to eventually have to transition onto something else. But what do you think of the name?
there's a lot of Thunder stuff out there, so I think the name is kind of benign. But it's also kind of like what kind of effort are they going to put into the theme? Because if they're going to go somewhere with this, then I'm totally cool with it. But
I like the
Yeah,
backstory. I like that. I think it does have that NASCAR type of vibe to it when you call it Thunder Striker. So I'm okay with it.
yeah, I'm fine with it. And again, the name of a ride doesn't really matter that much. But side note, and this isn't in our notes, at King's Dominion, Intimidator 305, they're teasing that it's going to have a name change too. It's on the website as Project 305, but I don't necessarily think that's going to be the name. I don't know for sure.
Let's hope that's
Yeah,
not the name.
let's hope that's not the name, but um they may go a different direction from the racing and stuff. Honestly, I don't understand why. I mean, I guess NASCAR is big in Virginia, but the Carolinas are known for NASCAR, so I get that. But the one in King's Dominion in Virginia didn't make as much sense to me really ever. But Don, you were the interim manager, PR manager at Carowinds for the launch of this ride. Does it hurt you a little bit to see the name that you were promoting kind of go away?
Yeah, I'm erased a little bit further from history, I guess, from the Cedar Fair chain. But no, that was a really fun a time for me. A great opportunity to be able to go there, and the year before I had done Diamondback at Kings Island with that campaign, and that was part of the group that announced that attraction in 2008. So 2009, they asked if I could go there and just replicate what I did at Kings Island, and we did that, and just a great turnout, a lot of excitement. Carowinds hadn't had a big new attraction for several years, so it was a big deal when this was announced, and I got to go back the next year when it opened, and guests absolutely loved it, and it's still a great ride.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, let's move on to the listener question. And this is from Kyle Kavanaugh. And this is the most practical question we've had yet. Says, what are you going to go to? What are your go to theme park shoes? And do you have to get new ones every season? I've got New Balance that lasts 2 years, $150 ish. And by the end of the season, the tread is all but gone. I average 40 to 50 visits per season. This is our first question about theme park shoes, but it is actually a very good question, and we're two very good people to ask that. So, Don, let me start with
Well, it's a
you.
great question. It's a great question. Now, I'm going to go back to when I was going to parks, making those 50, 70, 100 visits a year. The shoe that I wore in the 1980s was K-Swiss, and it was perfect for theme parks. They're known, a lot of tennis players would wear K-Swiss, so they're very durable shoes, very comfortable shoes. So I had the K-Swiss models throughout the 80s when I was riding the racer every day and then visiting other theme parks around the country, and even going into the 1990s. Uh, I have right now Reebok is what I've currently are wearing, and I don't make those 40, 50 trips a year. But as I'm going to start ramping it up this summer and getting back out there a lot, I looked online today after seeing this question, and I wanted to see what K Swiss has. So for me, I'm going to look toward a K Swiss model because I had such great success and durability and comfort with that in the 1980s. What about you, Ryan?
Well, so personally, I have these shoes, and I'll take my shoe off right now. These are On Cloud shoes, and if anybody's a serious runner, they know because this is kind of like the Lululemon of shoes, where it's quite a bit more expensive. But these go from about 150 to 200 or so. Um, Shout out to Trade Home Shoes in the Kenwood Mall if you're local to Cincinnati. That's where I get all my on cloud needs fulfilled. But they the tread seems to last a little bit longer. I walk in a weird way where I tear up the tread pretty badly. If I have cheap shoes, they last for. I mean, if like as far as like park visits are concerned, they'll last about 15 or so. But these would probably last about a season. I'll say this: if your shoes are comfortable and you're getting 2 seasons out of them for that price, for 150 bucks, you're coming out ahead because that's kind of what shoes cost nowadays. I hate to say it, but um, that's a really good question. Whatever's comfortable for you. If you're not going home with blisters, then good, go for it. You know,
Yeah, but I highly recommend though, go online, look up K-Swiss, look at the options that they have, and I love the shoe. I thought it was perfect for theme parks, and I had a number of enthusiasts that saw that I had K-Swiss back in the '80s, and they also got those shoes, and really loved them.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your question. So make sure you should go online and look up your K Swisses. Hey, make sure you follow us on all your favorite podcast apps, Apple, Google, Spotify. You know the drill. Smash that like button. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And follow us on X, formerly Twitter, at attractions_GRP. We'll see you next week, everybody.